yourself, pamper yourself, hug others, cry if you need to, go running if you need to, go do some boxing if you need to, and then come back into it and build your vision, because your vision is vitally important to you and to the community at large. Don't give up on it just because right now is a stressful time. We've got to push forward. Our ancestors would want us to, and we deserve it. So I've been putting a lot of thought to this, and what to say, how to motivate people, but how to also explain the mission behind the work that I do. So I was speaking to a friend of mine who's planning to buy property later this year, and this is something that she had been thinking about for a while, but more heavily she started thinking about it as of last year. And so she and I started talking about her plan and her strategy. And also, I already own a 3-unit property, and I planned on this year expanding that. And I know what my vision is, and I know the different types of properties that I plan to buy, and I know the kind of like the timeline. But I always believe in like having an idea of your vision, but then but being adaptable, knowing that things may happen that may move things around. They might move it to happen faster, might move it to happen a little later, but nevertheless, I know where I'm going, and so she does too. And we were both talking about how this moment is in particularly more stressful and more contentious, because not only are we dealing with the same social causes as it pertains to over-policing and over-aggressive policing towards Black and brown bodies, but that we're also dealing with the midst of a pandemic and quarantine. We're also dealing with, in certain industries, greater unemployment, and just so many things happening. And I think a lot of us, especially within the activist community, are feeling in particularly stressed, I guess, or maybe not stressed is not the right word, but this kind of like high level of like discomfort, right? And the question is, how do you handle that? And as I'm thinking about it, and still move forward, right? Still move forward with your goals, with what you're working on. And as I was thinking about it, something hit me. What does a terrorist do, right? Anybody who's ever done any act of terror, their goal is to destabilize something. Like, we can go back to the time when, Black Wall Street and these various other communities were living independently and securely and doing their own thing. The terrorist of the white community attacked. Why? To destabilize, to disrupt, to cause chaos, to prevent further progress. And so one of the things that came out of this for me was an even greater sense of urgency. I already had a great sense of urgency, and if you've been a friend of mine, for years, you already know this is nothing new for me. I keep on moving forward, and I keep on trying to build and strengthen and empower. But in this moment, an even greater sense of urgency, because that is what the state of terror, when it comes to over-policing, is meant to do, right? And we can all talk about how within the police community that there's good police officers and there's also bad ones, but the way that the policing system is created is to profit off of the bodies of people, and predominantly the bodies of Black people and Black and brown people, right? And the way the profiting works is privatized prisons, privatized jails, incentives with arrest quotas and ticket quotas to force police, whether they're racist or not, to engage with the community in an aggressive way, right? So with that being said, the whole mission of that, no matter who supports it or just is forced into participating it, regardless of what their level of involvement is, that whole thing is meant to keep people subservient and trapped and complacent, not because of a lack of care, but complacent because of being in a state of anxiety, being in a state of stress. And when I thought about that, it reminded me of all of these various figures throughout time who were stuck in a stressful moment. And I had to ask myself, okay, how long did they give themselves to recenter, meditate, before they came back with force? And I'm thinking of people like Angelo Herndon. And if you've never studied about Angelo Herndon, I encourage you to look him up. He was a major figure within the workers' movement in the early 20th century. And Langston Hughes mentioned him in a poem, which is how I first decided to research him, because I loved the poem that Langston Hughes wrote. And when I noticed the name Angelo Herndon, I looked him up and started researching his life. So this is why I say to artists all the time, definitely highlight people who are important to you, because it's a way of us putting the person into the historical narrative in a way that maybe history books might not, because while Angelo Herndon is spoken about, he's not taught actively in schools. So by having him in a poem that I came across, it was, and other people have come across that poem and loved it, it was a way of telling his story, right? And I think of people like Angelo Herndon. I think about all the people that he worked with. I think about, Francis Godet. And we have to think about, like Harriet Tubman and all of these various people throughout time. And we know they were in these situations of great, not only mental stress, but physical stress, to the point of having your security threatened, right? But they still took action. And so one of the things that I guess made the vision that I have, that I'm working toward, and made my motivation to help other people with their visions even more urgent, was this fact. Because these types of things, people who want to keep people down, people who want to oppress, they want you to not move forward. They want you to not go forward and build and grow from it. They want you to halt. Now, we do need to stop for a moment, meditate and reflect. You do need some self-care, without a doubt. Make sure that you get the necessary self-care as a person living in this right now, right? But also, as if you're an activist, you need that self-care. If you're a healer, you need that time away and that self-care. We all need that. And that's where being supportive to each other is important. But don't let it put you into a state of despair. That's what you got to avoid, is falling into despair, which leads to you giving up. So whatever your vision is, seek out those who are willing to support you. If your vision is involved with passive income, building a business, starting up investments, dealing with real estate, I'm definitely here to support you in any way that I can. It might just involve giving you a resource, access to a resource that I have. It may just be reading material, or it might be just working with you to create that investment plan. And I don't mind just giving you the framework and saying, hey, if that's what you're going for, this would be a good path to take. And then you can modify it as you need to along the way. But that's what I'm here for. I call this financial activism because it is one of the facets of activism. And there's so many different fronts. And whatever your front is, commit to it and be present in that, and don't feel the need to spread yourself out too thin. If you're a healer, then that is basically, your form of activism. If you're someone on the legal front, that's the kind of activism that you're working on. Education, there's so many different fronts. And so wherever you feel best empowered, where you feel that your skill set is best operative, go for it. If you don't know where your skill set is best fitting yet, and you're looking for answers on how to get involved, look within your community. A lot of the Black Lives Matter groups have access to resources. There's a lot of workers groups in various cities. Look up those groups. Like in New Orleans, it's the People's Assembly, right? And they work within, the home ownership capacity, as far as the rights of people within Gordon Plaza. They work with the workers in the tourism industry. There are work groups like this all across the country in various cities, both big and small. So find your part and commit to it, right? And remember, you don't have to do all of it. There's going to be people on each front. Be present where it works for you, right? If you happen to just have access to a lot of information, share that information. That's more than enough. Do whatever is in your capacity to be done. And remember to take moments to pause, reflect, take care of yourself. nurture yourself, pamper yourself, hug others, cry if you need to, go running if you need to, go do some boxing if you need to, and then come back into it and build your vision, because your vision is vitally important to you and to the community at large. Don't give up on it just because right now is a stressful time. We've got to push forward. Our ancestors would want us to, and we deserve it. I'm sending you all my love, and reach out to me if there's anything that I can do within that realm of investment and real estate or passive income. I am more than happy to share the resources that I have, no matter what state you're in. So, bye guys.